Hey guys, Brett from Kitchen Table Commander here, back with another deck tech. Guilds of Ravnica brought us new commanders to build around, and in the tradition of building a deck around my pre-release promo, I'm bringing you an Izoni Thousand-Eyed commander deck. Izoni is an expensive commander costing 2 of anything, 2 black and 2 green. When she enters the battlefield, she creates a 1/1 black and green insect creature token for each creature in your graveyard, with the added ability of paying black, green, and sacrificing a creature to gain 1 life and draw a card. So you can probably guess where this deck is going. Graveyard matters with a token subtheme. Well, that's enough gabbing, let's get into it. We'll start with the token subtheme. I wanted to stick to the Graveyard Matters theme even when dealing with token generation. So to that effect, we have Dread Summoning and Spider Spawning. Dread Summoning allows us to mill all our opponents equally, while also fueling Undergrowth and getting us 2/2 zombie tokens for each creature that was put into a graveyard this way. Spider Spawning gives us a 1/2 spider token with reach for each creature in our graveyard, and then we can flash it back to do it again. Sticking with the zombie and spider theme, we have Dark Salvation and Arachnogenesis. This Salvation gives us X 2/2 zombie tokens, and then gives target creature -1/-1 counters equal to the number of zombies we control until end of turn. Arachnogenesis is an awesome combat trick, making 1/2 spider creature tokens with reach for each attacking creature, and it prevents all combat damage dealt by non-spider creatures, making a token dex Alpha Strike a complete blowout. Keeping to the zombies, we have Army of the Damned to make 13 2/2 zombie tokens, and then to flash it back to make another 13 2/2 zombie tokens. And last is Desecrated Tomb. We do have the ability to pull creatures back from the yard from time to time, and while that isn't great for Undergrowth, we might as well take advantage of it. The tomb makes 1/1 flying bat tokens every time a creature leaves the graveyard. Next up is removal. We have the usual suspects with Abrupt Decay, Putrefy, and Golgari Charm. Abrupt Decay to destroy any non-land permanent with CMC 3 or less, Putrefy for artifacts and creatures, and the Charm to save all our creatures from a board wipe, destroy an enchantment, or wipe a token dex board. Status Statue to give something Death Touch or destroy an artifact, creature, or enchantment. Crushing Canopy to kill a flyer or destroy an enchantment. Consuming Strength and Necrotic Wound to make combat awkward. Consuming Strength gives you a 4-point power toughness swing, while the wound gives target creature -1/-1 counters equal to the number of creatures in your graveyard. Cast Down gets rid of non-legendary creatures at instant speed. Coat with Venom gives a creature +1/+2 and Death Touch until end of turn. Bioblight seems like an odd include, but when you realize there are tons of decks that copy creatures or, make tokens, you realize how powerful it can be. Target a token and it can wipe their entire board. Beast Within to get rid of any permanents that might be messing up your plans. I know it gives that player a 3/3 Beast token, but a 3/3 is way better than some of the alternatives. Besides, you can use it on yourself if there's a small creature that has outlived its usefulness. Aphotic Wisp to make a creature black and give it fear. Nice way to give something unblockable against non-black decks for cheap. Clip Wings to force your opponents to sacrifice an annoying flyer. Sticking with the sacrifice idea, Dictate of Erebos will punish your opponents if they keep killing your creatures, or if you sacrifice something, say, to your commander's ability. Not only are you getting a creature in your yard to fuel Undergrowth, but you're also clearing their board state. And last but certainly not least, I'm sure you guessed it by now, Assassin's Trophy. You kill something of theirs and all they get for it is a basic land for 2 mana. Seems like a decent trade-off to me, and I know I'm not alone here. Undergrowth is great, but we need some way of making sure we can take advantage of it. That means making sure creatures get into the graveyard. So what better way to do that than with cards like Grapple with the Past and Grisly Salvage. Grapple with the Past puts the top 3 cards in your graveyard, and then you may return a creature or land card from the graveyard to your hand. Grisly Salvage lets you look at the top 5 cards, and then you may put a creature or land card into your hand, and the rest go in the graveyard. For 2 mana each, this is a sweet enabler to our strategy. Both allow us to get a creature or land back if we need it, and because they are May abilities, we don't have to take anything if we don't want to. Perpetual Timepiece gives us another way of putting cards into our graveyard, with the added bonus of letting us shuffle any number of cards back into our library. Want to know what's on top of your library pretty much at all times? Well, that's why we've included Path of Discovery, giving each creature we cast Explore and the ability to get counters on them or a land into your hand. Mausoleum Secrets helps us find any black card we might need. Journey to Eternity essentially regenerates whatever creature it's attached to, but still gives us a dies trigger for the Dictate. When that happens, it returns transformed into Atzal Cave of Eternity, which fixes our mana and can return any creature to the battlefield from the graveyard. Not exactly synergistic with Undergrowth, but if your bomb was removed, it's nice to have a way of getting it back. Skull Clamp allows us to kill off some of those cheap tokens in order to get extra cards. Equip it to a bigger creature and sacrifice it with Izoni's ability, and you get to draw 3 cards and gain a life. Not bad. Growing Rites of Itlimoc lets you look at the top 4 cards and put a creature into your hand, but it's when it flips that it really shines, giving you 1 green mana for each creature you control. Given the number of tokens you'll be creating, that's going to be a lot of extra mana. That brings us to one of the biggest spells we have in the deck, Rise of the Dark Realms. This is one of our finishers. We've all had commander games that just drag on, but with Rise of the Dark Realms, you can make quick work of the remaining player life totals with all those creatures that have been killed off over the course of the last 5-6 hours. So I've talked about Undergrowth and things that care about creatures in the graveyard, so I guess I should probably start talking about the creatures in this deck. In our 1-drop slot, we have Barrier of Bones, Deathrite Shaman, and Essence Warden. The Barrier gives us an early blocker and the ability to surveil when it enters. This can give us a better position overall because we can see if the top card is something that will help us immediately or something we might want to put in the graveyard to fuel Undergrowth or get back later when it's more beneficial. Deathrite Shaman is just so versatile that I'd be dumb not to include it. Exiles pretty much anything we want from any graveyard we want and gives us benefit for doing it. And Essence Warden gains us life for each creature entering the battlefield. Given how many tokens we can make and that it counts opponents' creatures, it's going to gain you a ton of life. Our 2-drops get a bit crazy. Abyssal Gatekeeper, Ambush Viper, Apprentice Necromancer, Beastbreaker of Balagad, Black Knight, Blood Artist, Blood Crazed Paladin, Bone Worm, Glowspore Shaman, and Zulaport Cutthroat. Blood Artist and Zulaport Cutthroat make your opponents think twice about killing off your creatures, but also to trigger them yourself by sacrificing creatures with Izoni. It's starting to feel like a life gain deck, isn't it? Abyssal Gatekeeper is a cheap way of making your opponent sacrifice one of their creatures. Apprentice Necromancer to be able to get a creature back, preferably one that doesn't enter the battlefield or dies trigger. Ambush Viper because a flash Death Touch creature is too good not to put in this deck. Black Knight having first strike is great, and since most board wipes are white, his protection means he's sticking around. Beastbreaker of Balagad starts as a regular old bear, but gets better with time until he's a 6/6 with trample. I'm usually opposed to level creatures because there's probably something else I'd rather be doing with that mana, but in this case it's a great cheap creature that just gets better the longer the game goes on, and is either an immediate threat requiring removal or left alone long enough that it's too late. Either way, I'm fine with that. Blood Crazed Paladin is a great creature to flash in at the end of a board wipe as long as it's not Cyclonic Rift. Boneyard Worm basically screams Undergrowth. Its power and toughness are based on the number of creatures in your yard. Glowspore Shaman fuels Undergrowth and gets us a land back from the graveyard to the top of the library. For 3-drops, we have Liliana, Heretical Healer, Plaguecrafter, Reclamation Sage, Slimefoot the Stowaway, Splinter Fright, Yeheni Undying Partisan, and Yavimaya Elder. Liliana because she's cheap and flips easily, then her first ability means we can put a creature into the graveyard that might help Undergrowth or get it back when it's more useful with her second ability. Since most of our creatures aren't legendary and our average CMC is 3, it won't really restrict our options. Plaguecrafter may hit us too, but that just means we have more creatures in the yard for Undergrowth. Plus it means that our opponents have to choose if the cards in their hand are worth more than the creatures on the battlefield. Reclamation Sage gives us the ability to destroy an artifact or enchantment, while also being an easy creature to attack with since most things kill it, which fuels Undergrowth. Slimefoot is great for making tokens that you can then sacrifice to Izoni, gaining you more life and dealing damage to each opponent. The token isn't cheap, but late game when you have tons of extra mana, you'll really appreciate the blockers. Splinter Fright is another card that screams Undergrowth. Its power and toughness are equal to the number of creatures in your graveyard. It fuels itself by making you mill 2 cards every upkeep, and it has trample. This will get out of hand quick and your opponents will have to find a way to deal with it. Yeheni is another creature that could get out of control. You have plenty of ways to kill off your opponent's creatures, and in multiplayer it's even better. Just sit back and let your opponents fight each other while Yeheni just gets bigger and bigger. Being able to sacrifice one of the many tokens you'll have to give him indestructible until end of turn is just gravy. And last is Yavimaya Elder. He's a great card to get out early. You want him to die, not only to fuel Undergrowth, but also to find you 2 basic land. If your opponent doesn't want to kill him, you have the option of sacrificing to his own ability, and you get to draw a card as well. In the 4-drop slot, we have Beast Whisperer, Bloodline Keeper, Creekwood Liege, Golgari Findbroker, Poison Tip Archer, and World Shaper. Beast Whisperer to get us a ton of card draw from all the creatures we're casting. Bloodline Keeper because, well, a flying 3/3 that can give us flying 2/2s just for tapping it seems pretty good. Make 5 vampire tokens and you can flip it to become a 5/5 that buffs other vampires. I don't know if you noticed, but we have a non-zero amount of other vampires. Creekwood Liege gives our other black creatures +1/+1 and our other green creatures +1/+1, and gives us a 1/1 black and green worm creature token on every upkeep. Golgari Findbroker has decent stats and gets us back any permanent we want from the graveyard. Poison Tip Archer can kill any flying creature since it has reach and death touch, but it also makes your opponents lose 1 life every time any other creature dies. And finally, World Shaper as an aggressive attacker. It fuels Undergrowth when it attacks, and when it dies, you get all your lands back from the graveyard. Pretty sweet for a 3/3. 5-drop time. We have Archfiend of Depravity, a 5/4 flyer that will continually keep your opponent's board clear. They pick 2 creatures and sacrifice the rest every end step. Golgari Grave Troll gets counters for each creature in the graveyard, and you can use those counters to regenerate it. Kessig Cage Breakers is insane with Undergrowth. Being a 3/4 isn't bad, but the fact that it gives you a 2/2 wolf token for each creature in your graveyard when it attacks is crazy. Also, I don't know if you noticed, but the tokens don't go away at the end of your turn. You get to keep them. That sounds busted to me. Mazarek Crawl Death Priest is going to make your creatures huge. damage. We have so many ways of sacrificing or making your opponent sacrifice their creatures that you're going to need to get some more dice. Michaeloth is here as another source of sacrifice, and of course, you're going to take it. You sacrifice a bunch of creatures to give it a buttload of counters, and then each upkeep you make so many tokens you're going to make Tristani jealous. Tendershoot Dryad to make more Saproings, and once you have the City's Blessing, those Saprolings become 3/3s. Last we have Underrealm Lich to keep us safe from Nekusar and to help fuel Undergrowth. You can make him indestructible for 4 life, which given how much life gain is in here won't be a tough choice to make. Our one and only 6-drop is Izoni herself. You all know what she does by this point, and you can see how she fits into the strategy of this deck. So moving on, we have our land base. 2-color is pretty simple, so we can get away from having a lot of non-basic land. We have Golgari Rot Farm, Woodland Cemetery, and Tainted Wood for dual lands. You've already seen Atzal Cave of Eternity and Itlamok Cradle of the Sun, so we'll move on. We have a command tower for added color fixing, Westvale Abbey for reasons. Ormondal is another win con with this deck. It's hard to deal with a flying 9/7 with lifelink that's also indestructible. And of course we have a Soul Ring. Of course. Top it off with 14 forests and 17 swamps, and there you have it. One Izoni 1000-eyed Undergrowth Commander deck. Now, if you wanted to make this a more budget-friendly deck build, I would cut the Assassin's Trophy, Rise of the Dark Realms, and Army of the Damned, as they're the most expensive cards in the deck. Bonus if you cut Rise of the Dark Realms and Army of the Damned is that it will significantly reduce the average CMC. If you're looking to do the opposite and upgrade the deck, then look at adding Doubling Season and Parallel Lives to get extra bang for your token buck. Reliquary Tower would be a good upgrade since you could be drawing a lot of cards from Izoni's ability, or from Skullclamp. Crucible of Worlds wouldn't be a bad idea so that any land that get milled into your graveyard aren't gone for good. Jared, Golgari Lich Lord is an ideal upgrade since it gets +1/+1 for each creature in the graveyard, and it's another sacrifice engine that also takes a toll on your opponent's life total. Grave Pact and Marin of Clan Neltoth both care about creatures dying and force your opponents to sacrifice one of their own or get a creature back from your graveyard. I can't believe I'm promoting playing Marin. What's wrong with me? Shieldred Whispering One brings back your creatures every upkeep while making your opponent sacrifice a creature on each of theirs. It goes against Undergrowth, but it's still a powerful ability that means you get attackers and they lose their blockers. Win-win, right? You can also add Craterhoof Behemoth. It really doesn't matter that's a 5/5 for 8. With the number of creatures you control, it's that last ability that will act like a win con in itself. And if you want another Undergrowth creature, look no further than Mulder Hulk. It will more often than not cost black and green, and you also get a land back. 2 mana for a 6/6 that gets you a land onto the battlefield is pretty awesome. Well, that about does it for today. I'd love to hear what you guys think about this deck in the comments. If you've enjoyed this video, please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you know the second I upload a new video. As always, you can find me on Twitter @KitchenTableCommand and on Instagram @KitchenTableCommander. If you want to support the channel, consider becoming a patron over on our Patreon. I'll leave a link in the description. It's been a blast, and we'll see you in the next video.